Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us, to our guests in the United States and around the world. All right, we have got Ray Sturm from AlphaFlow on the show with us today. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you here, Ray. As we do with all of our guests, I want to give you an opportunity to give the world a feeling for who you are, what you're doing, and then dive into the disruptive content you brought to the table today about what you and AlphaFlow are doing for your clients and how you see the world as we continue through 2018. How's that?
Absolutely. I appreciate it. So I'm Ray Sturm. I'm the CEO and founder of AlphaFlow. So in layman's terms, AlphaFlow is basically an asset manager. We're focused on real estate loans. So what we do is we work with a number of alternative lenders, and Michael, think non-banks here. We work with these guys all around the country, and these lenders are providing typically 6 to 12-month bridge loans on single-family homes. The borrowers here are mostly real estate investors, and they're often looking to fix and flip properties. So they come to these lenders instead of banks for various reasons. So the loans are short. They're typically yielding 8 to 12%. So our investors are really attracted to this asset class, but for most of them, they couldn't really touch them before AlphaFlow. So what we do is we partner with these lenders, we review their loans, and we purchase the ones we like. Today, that's about only 1 out of 10 loans we review, but those are the ones we really like, and then we use those loans to build diversified portfolios for our clients. Those clients today are everyone from individuals to actual institutions like hedge funds or university endowments. So the portfolios we're building are including most likely 75 to 100 different loans, and they're often spread across 15 to 25 states. So there's a lot of diversification in there. Our target yield is about 8 to 10%, so our clients have been pretty happy with what we're doing here.
Well, Ray, you don't know this. I'm Ed Baxter from Bison Creek Capital, but you don't know this. But I'm familiar with realty shares because at one point I knew a lot of people who were involved in it, and I know there's deals that other people had put in there too. So the process that you're doing is something that I refer to as the democratization of capital. And the reason that it happens is when you have non-bank lending that occurs the way you do it, it makes a lending, category, for lack of a better term, a lot more efficient because you have a vested interest in that loan itself. So give us a little bit more information about how you went about creating this second, really what amounts to almost a second version of it, and what do you see as the biggest value proposition when coming to AlphaFlow versus the incumbent?
Absolutely. So Realty Shares, I was one of 2 founders in 2013 when real estate crowdfunding was just kicking off, and that was a huge step for the industry. Really, for the first time, instead of needing hundreds of thousands of dollars, investors could come in for 5 or 10 grand into one loan, and that was a big step. Well, what investors started to figure out, and my job there was taking care of our clients and our investors, was that even with 5 to 10 grand, they needed a lot of money to get an actually diversified portfolio. And so the idea for AlphaFlow honestly came from our clients. They started to ask me saying, look, you're good at this. This is what you do day in and day out. We love the returns. We love the product. Instead of this marketplace model, which is really how fintech has been built up, could we have more of an asset manager? Could you do this for us? And that's really where AlphaFlow came from. So for clients that want to go out and they want to pick every loan themselves and do the due diligence, there's a great industry out there. And even that industry is a big step forward from the incumbents where really only a few people would get access to these loans. AlphaFlow, I think, is taking that next step. I think this is really V2 of fintech here where we're looking at the way the rest of the investment world works. We talk about picking your own stocks, but most people are really in mutual funds. They're in structured products. They're in something where a professional has actually done that work. We're doing the same thing for this industry. We're saying it makes sense for us to build deep analytics platforms where we know which 1 out of 10 loans actually makes sense, where we actually have the best relationships with lenders, and we know for a fact we're not getting everything that's been rejected by other institutional investors because we are one of those institutional investors. That's really the expertise I think that we're bringing to our clients.
Ray, talk to us about how you see the landscape going through 2018 and beyond, if you can see further than that.
So when we're saying the landscape, do you mean fintech or just real estate in general? What's best, Michael?
What you're doing within the fintech world in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is a lot of expansion. So what's starting to happen is our industry is getting big enough for more institutional investors to enter. Some of those are pension funds that used to never touch this. I remember in the early days at Realty Shares talking to a lot of these groups. It was too new. No one could really talk to these guys. Well, at this point, we're talking to some pretty big state pension funds that are really interested in getting into these asset classes. That's going to do two things, I think. One, it's going to open up more investment opportunities that maybe individuals like you and me aren't as interested in, maybe longer term, maybe shorter, lower yield, but maybe much more certain, lower risk at the same time. A lot of pensions are looking for something like that, a solid 4%, something like that. And two, I think you're going to see growth in the industry because when you're working with these groups, they can't put $5 or $10 million to work. They need to be talking to you about putting $250 million to $1 billion to work for this to even be interested at all. And so you're going to see the industry itself become more professionalized, or firms are going to die off. At some point, you can't wing it anymore. If you're dealing with CalPERS, you need to have actually audited financials. You need to actually be doing things under real analytics. And so I think you're going to see that the industry mature in that way. And the result of that is you're going to see some players fall out as well.
Ray, looking at the way you do things and versus what you mentioned the other company a second ago, how do you see the transparency of the transaction along with the fact you have this incredible chase for yield for institutional money playing a role in how your business grows?
Yeah, I think transparency is going to be something that's more and more key. What you see in the marketplace model is the idea that you're putting all of the documents out there. The reality is for a lot of investors, it's tough to know if they know everything. Are they getting all, is this lender the fifth lender that necessarily got this loan? Everyone else said no to this guy. And that asymmetry of information, I think, has led to a lot of bad results on particular platforms. And I think that scared people off. One of the things we started out with was really just an internal value here with the team of just being completely open to our investors. So even though we build these portfolios ourselves, our investors can see every detail of every loan. And what we're actually going to be adding soon, because our investors have asked for it, is actually seeing our analytics about why we chose one loan versus another. For us, it's really just preparing us better for these larger institutional investors who they're not open to not seeing those details. That's table stakes if you want to deal with those guys. And so I think transparency is going to be one more thing that drives companies to either succeed or just really die off in the next year or two.
Right, and we've got a minute left, but I know that there are some bigger names that are now showing up to partner up with you and invest in your processes. Steve Cohen,
Yep.
Point 72, Social Capital and recent capital raises of, what was it, like 4.1? Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
Well,
so yeah, it's been exciting bringing these groups in. One of the challenges we have that you don't necessarily have in the tech world is if you want to make a big impact here, you need to harness technology, but at the same time, you still need the capital markets. And if you're looking to really make an impact in both areas where you're not only automating enormous processes, but you're also taking credit lines that are 9 or 10 figures, I can't imagine a group of partners I'd want around the table with me more than Social Capital and Point 72.
Well said. We got to end on that note. Ray, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. Ray Sturm, AlphaFlow, alphaflow.com. You've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba. This segment brought to you by Tycon Partners.